Hello and welcome to Level Up and Friends, the weekly podcast where those of us from the video game and comic book store Level Up Entertainment get together some friends and we talk about different subjects we're passionate about. This week we're talking about the Sega Genesis, one of the
Sega.
one of the main forces in the great console wars of the early '90s. As usual, I'm your host this week, Scott, and joining me I have Wes.
Hey.
I got Kendall.
Hello.
And then we have Brian.
What's up?
So this is probably the first console when it came out. It came out in 1990. So I was like 4 going on 5. I know I got it after Super Nintendo came out, but it's like the first one where I was like, I want this thing specifically. I don't know how you guys, your origin stories with this Sega or not. Wes, I know you are a little older than the rest of us, so you probably have a very different experience than us, but I'll start with.
Yeah, I was like 19, I think, when it came out. So
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Man, between 19 and 5, what a world of difference. But yeah, let's start off with you, Brian. How did you get in the Sega Genesis?
My Sega Genesis, I forget what birthday it was, but it was given to me as a birthday gift. I had gotten the Model 2 Genesis with the pack-in Sonic 2 and a copy of The Lion King. After I had asked my family for more and more video games after having played the family's old Nintendo to death. And yeah, it kind of spiraled out from there.
Cool. How about you, Kendall?
I did not have a Genesis for a very long time. I got it like after PlayStation 1. But like they were still selling them in stores, so
they're still selling them in stores today.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah.
But very cool. But yeah, I came across Genesis. The woman down the street who would like watch the kids in the neighborhood had an older daughter who like lived in the basement. And very rarely would we be allowed down there to like play Sega Genesis, and that's kind of where I fell in love with it.
Yeah. And then Wes, I know you've got of my guests here, you've got the most unique story.
Not really. It was just I grew up an arcade kid. Sega was a huge part of that. So once, and I already had a Master System, so once they advertised Genesis as, the ultimate arcade machine, bring the arcade classics home. I saw Altered Beast packed in. I was all about it. I had to have it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know everyone associates Sega Genesis with the marketing campaign, their aggressive marketing campaign in Sonic, but like that's not how it started. The original packing game was Altered Beast, which was, obviously an arcade title. But mine's a little similar to yours, Brian. I remember my parents gave me the choice between getting a Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis for that Christmas. They're like, you're not getting both. Pick which one you want. And I was like, well, my friend down the street had a Super Nintendo. And I was like, I got to play Sonic the Hedgehog. So I got the Model 2, but my pack-in was the 6-pack, which had Sonic 1, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Super Hang-On, Columns, and Revenge for Shinobi. So that's what I had out of the gate. And then obviously I got more games later. But yeah, like, so do you guys remember like had the vibe for Genesis being really different than Super Nintendo or just Nintendo's brand in general? I obviously we all remember the marketing campaigns and stuff, doing what Nintendo don't, and all of those kinds of like ads and stuff, which is such a clever and great thing that I'm mad that I never would have come up with something half as good. But yeah, so you guys remember remember about the aggressive marketing campaign and stuff?
Yeah, no, it was basically just kind of like Nintendo played it safe and Sega wanted to be in your face, and it was that very 90s style.
Yeah,
everything very loud and at you.
It's the most 90s thing I think of. Like I think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I think of Sega's marketing campaign, and that's like my two thoughts. Like when I think 90s, those are the two things that come to my head.
The famous Sega scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We would do it at the beginning of all the games, like Jurassic Park. The T-Rex would do it. You know, or would say Sega. Yeah. Screaming the Sega thing was so weird, but like we're still talking about it 30 years later. So
Yeah. Somebody got paid a lot of money to come up with that, and they did a darn good job.
yeah. So obviously we all remember the Sega versus Nintendo like console wars. Um, Obviously I chose to be on Sega's side. I guess most of you guys did the same thing since we're on this podcast specifically. But it's always funny to look back on that now, or it's like more or less kind of the same experience, especially in retrospect now. Like I think Super Nintendo has the stronger library, which might be controversial for some of you. But I will say Genesis has its own style and like flavor that's like kind of unique for the 16-bit. Like I know a Sega Genesis soundtrack without even knowing what like that it's from it. I just from hearing it, I'm like, this sounds like it's from Genesis. Like something from like Streets of Rage, like always sounds like different than something like anything from Super Nintendo.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, even like
I was a Nintendo kid.
yeah.
And yeah, like I don't know. I think it's like also tied into the fact that I played it in like a dirty basement of like a young adult who like needed to move out of their house, you know, but like it always seems like I don't know, like Sega Genesis was like one step below like smoking cigarettes or something.
I mean,
Like, it was just like
I know they were targeting teenagers and stuff, so that kind of makes sense.
yeah, it just like felt it felt like the 90s.
Yeah. I will say like the whole reason I wanted one, we might as well just get him out of the way, is Sonic the Hedgehog was my jam as a kid. Got up every day to watch the cartoons. I wanted it to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Like that's all I was interested, which is funny because I only ever owned that one that came with my game. I never bought Sonic 2, 3, or Knuckles.
Really?
But like my friend had all of them, so I would just go over his house and we would just play them.
Okay.
And then Kendall, I know in high school, like when they started releasing the GameCube like collections, that's when we were like, that's first time I properly like owned those games. Because I know we would like just one night when we're just hanging out, we would just play like Sonic 3 and just beat it, just because it's there.
Why wouldn't you?
The one thing about Sega, especially when Sonic came out, it was like they were always trying to be like revolutionary, you know, especially with the Sonic and Knuckles with the clip-on cartridge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On Sonic 2 or Sonic 3, it gave you Knuckles in Sonic 2, and Sega was always different and innovative in that respect. So I was all about it. I was like, yes, Sega. I was more of a Sega kid than a Nintendo kid.
Yeah, I will say, because Nintendo's also known for trying new things and doing that stuff. I think obviously Nintendo's stuff paid off because they're still making video game consoles and Sega is not. But like, yeah, Sonic and Knuckles should have been our first inkling that like we're just gonna just keep jamming more and more things onto the Genesis because
hey, whoa! Some of those things were very good, and then some of those things were a 32X.
I'll be honest with you, I never knew anyone that bought a 32X or a Sega CD. I've never played any of those properly outside of like testing them and stuff at the store.
Sega CD's awesome. I think that's probably where the best games on Sega Genesis are, honestly.
See, I've only played Sonic CDs, the only Sega CD game I've played, and like I don't particularly like it. Which I know is sort of blasphemy because everyone loves it. It's like one of the more well-regarded Sonic games. Where I'm like, I'd like Sonic 3 more. Or I guess Sonic 2 is a better example because they were made in parallel to each other. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't know anyone that had that stuff. Or if they had it, like they didn't have any game we wanted to play for it, and we would just play regular Genesis games or something else.
A lot of those Sega CD games, especially after the initial launch, I remember they were all like rehashes with like better sound.
Yeah, like they keep releasing like the same game over and over for a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of those, but I mean, honestly, Final Fight CD or Earthworm Jim CD, they're like the best ways to play those games, and it's a rehash, but if you had to go and play one of those today, that's where I'd point you, because the audio quality is outstanding, because I mean it's
Oh,
CD
it's just a
audio
CD,
versus
yeah.
games, but I mean it still retains a lot of that Genesis-y sound, if that makes sense.
I guess, yeah, because it's more just, I don't know, Genesis had weird audio chips. Well, because the sound still had to run through the Genesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did it plug? I forget. Does that plug directly into the TV? I know
The Sega CD has its own audio outs.
All right, I was about to say, because I know once you start adding all that stuff to the Genesis, it becomes like this uncontrollable nightmare of wires, because they all need their own power. They all need their own.
Yeah.
It gets really weird and annoying and very aesthetically displeasing. Did you ever get the Genesis? What was it? The CDX, I think they called it, where it was like a Walkman. So it was just a Sega CD with a slot for Genesis games.
That's
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I wish I knew that those existed when I was a kid, but there's so much Sega stuff that I didn't know was around at the time. Like Wes, you mentioned the Master System. I never heard of Sega until Sonic hit the scene. So like, I don't think I ever played any of their arcade games. Like when I was a kid, I don't think I've seen any of their arcade games, because like Starcade doesn't have any of them. I don't think.
No, well,
They might have a Golden Axe game.
Yeah, you had Golden Axe, you had Altered Beast, you had Shinobi, the original Shinobi.
Mm-hmm.
You had Strider. So they were known for making arcade games.
Well, yeah, I know their big ones are like Space Harrier, or no, not Fantasy Star. What's the one with the little spaceship?
Fantasy Star. You're thinking Fantasy Zone, but they also made Fantasy Star.
Fantasy Zone is what I was thinking. But yeah, I guess with that, let's just go into the games from that era. One of the big things I remember is just like a trend on the Genesis, besides just sports games, because they were really going for those like licensed sports titles. But I remember like the Disney games being really like well animated and like basically looking like a cartoon. Like Aladdin blew my mind on that system. But Brian, I know you specifically, you mentioned The Lion King. How you tried to speed run that one
for a while, and
right,
I kind of gave up.
Yeah,
I fell out of it, but I mean, for a while, I mean, I can run through that game kind of like it's nothing. Whereas most people, I mean, Lion King's one of those things that everybody's like, I can never get past those giraffes. It's not as hard as you think.
I mean, I can't, but like by that point, I'm like, I get frustrated.
I bet you could.
I don't know. What's the trick?
Jump.
Oh, that's what I was doing.
Just jump. Just keep moving. Don't stop. It's not a Mario game is the problem.
Was that one made by Capcom or by Virgin?
That's the Virgin Interactive. Most of those Disney ones at that time are. But it's it's everybody expected it to play slower like a Mario game would, because everybody's coming from that, and you have now it's like, no, you need to jump like real quick.
Well, no, because now we have blast processing.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to
move.
That.
Yeah, as all those Disney games, they all look great. They animated well, like you said, Scott. Like you were looking at a cartoon. They were just so hard.
I know. Well, it was still that era where because NES games were like the 8-bit era was really difficult. I think the 16-bit there people were getting a little bit more used to developing games with a home console in mind rather than just like quarter munching you. But still like when I was a kid, like Sonic the Hedgehog, like I never beat it. I don't even remember what's the zone beyond Marble Garden Zone. I don't even remember offhand what it is.
Killing me. I haven't played that in so long. I haven't finished it in so long.
I honestly don't remember, but I played that game all the time as a kid. It's just Green Hill Zone was so much fun that it doesn't really matter. But I mean, like I said, I never owned Sonic, the Sonic sequels. I will say a lot of the games I really like for the Genesis, I kind of came into them later. Like the Wii's Virtual Console was a great place to get introduced to a lot of these things. Like that's when I first played Gunstar Heroes, for example, and I love that game. That's a great cooperative game.
Yeah, the treasures showing between Gunstar Heroes and Alien Storm. are
yeah.
just kind of nuts.
I
on
wish
that
Alien
system.
Storm wasn't so crazy rare. I mean, Gunstar Heroes is too, but Alien Storm especially is really hard to get your hands on, like a real copy of it.
That's because it wasn't released in the US. It was
Yeah.
PAL territories.
Was it only PAL territories or was it also in
I
Japan?
believe there's some. I know its widest release is PAL
game?
territories. Alien Storm.
It's like how would you
No,
describe
it came
that
out in
game?
America.
It did.
I thought
I
it
thought.
did.
It did.
Hold on.
It did.
There probably was. Oh, okay. That fixes that problem. I know it was widest released, not here.
Yeah, I know it's one of because Sega in general did a lot better in Japan and Europe than Nintendo did. Like Nintendo really dominated the market here until the Genesis kind of busted that open a little bit. But I know like Genesis was like buoyed by Nintendo's like strict licensing agreements. Like a lot of companies are like Atari was like, well, we're jumping ship. We don't want to keep playing this for Super Nintendo. That's why I think Super Nintendo was the last great console where Nintendo had a lot of third-party support. And then after that was N64, and everyone kind of went to Dreamcast, or not Dreamcast, PlayStation.
PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation was where a lot of that went, like your Final Fantasies and stuff.
Yeah, you figure Nintendo kind of started losing their grip once Sega got Street Fighter, because for the longest time you can only get Street Fighter on a Super Nintendo. And that's what made me buy Super Nintendo, was for Street Fighter. And then, Sega released their 6-button controller, and everybody was like, "Oh, what are we going to get? What are we going to get?" Everybody speculated it was Street Fighter, but then we got, what was it? What was that fighting game?
Eternal Champions.
Eternal Champions, yes. And we got that, and then Street Fighter Championship Edition was announced like later on. But I think once Sega got Street Fighter, it started to turn the tide.
Yeah, well, there was a ton of fighting games. It's like, well, again, to compare it to Super Nintendo, like Mortal Kombat had the blood and stuff. Rather than like sweat, like, man, how hot is it in that world where it's like just gallons of sweat are coming off of you every time you do anything? But between that and like Night Trap randomly, because if you watch Night Trap like now, it's like, oh, like I don't even understand what's happening, and this is what everyone's freaking out about. Like, we started getting like, the government got involved, and we had to. That's where the ESRB came from, so they could self-regulate and like have ratings, so kids wouldn't get things that shouldn't be playing. It was a very interesting time in gaming. In general, at least in the States. I can't speak to the Japanese experience in the early 90s. But yeah, so again, let's just go into some of our favorite games. I'm gonna start with you, Kendall. What's one of your favorite games for the console?
My most favorite game. Well, should we start with our favorites, or
you like Turtles? Get it over with.
I think
the Turtles are a little weak.
Compared to Turtles in Time for Super Nintendo, Hyperstone Ice, it's just like,
it's not
it was neat to play it, but it's no Turtles in Time.
Yeah, it's neat that it has Tatsu, but it's got Rocksteady and New Bebop.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And you fight the same 3 bosses over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's fine. If you don't have Turtles in Time, it's a fine game just compared to it. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite game on Genesis is Sonic 2. Craziest. Just playing it, I was like, this is insane. Like it felt really fast when I was like a kid.
Oh my god! Do you remember the first time you could learn like spin dash? I was like, it changed the game completely.
Oh yeah.
Now every time they port Sonic 1, they bring that into it.
What's that?
Now every time they port Sonic 1, they add that to it.
Yeah, well, I remember going back to Sonic 1 after Sonic 2 and just being like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like not being able to spin dash.
They added that as like an accessibility option between 1 and 2 because people lost momentum and went, I can't get over this loop-de-loop. And they went, all right, well, how do we fix that?
Yeah.
And so people complaining that they couldn't get through something because they were bad turned into Sonic's basically defining feature.
I mean, I think it just makes it more fun in general, being able
Mhm.
to. Also, even if you don't go anywhere, just getting in the ball and
Revving
spinning,
up.
yeah,
It's
revving
just
up is so
so
much
fun.
fun. Like we all did it like 30 times because you think it makes you go faster. What blew my mind about Sonic 2 was, being used to Super Mario Brothers when you had to play like, Mario and Luigi, you had to take turns, but like being able to play as Tails at the same time was such a cool idea.
Yeah. And it definitely, like, if you get stuck in that game, like, having the player two as Tails, like, sometimes makes all the difference.
Oh, Tails made bosses so easy.
Yeah.
Just throw Tails at him over and over again. It doesn't matter if Tails dies. They come right back.
Yeah. I mean, eventually you just learn how to
Yeah.
hit the boss like 6 times.
Oh yeah, if you like the two of us, if we were to play, like we can hit Robotnik like 6 times, like at his first pass, because we both know when to jump and hit him. It's so much fun. I'm glad that you can kind of still do that in Sonic Mania.
Yeah, I really need to get that game.
I'm still shocked that you don't know it because you were buying like every Sonic game up until like Sonic 06.
Yeah, it was so
I wonder
bad.
what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Sonic 2. Favorite game. Is so fun. Like the levels felt huge to me. And just the fact that, like, it's like 2 parts of the level. It was just like insane.
Yeah. I think I like Sonic 2 the best of the classic Genesis Sonic games. I think that's nostalgia giving it an edge, like kind of how I like Mario Brothers 3 better than Mario World. Because there's a lot of cool things in Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. Like I like
For
Blue,
sure.
like I like Blue. I don't really like Blue Spheres. Blue Spheres makes me sick. Never mind.
I like the half pipe better than Blue Spheres.
Yeah, I like that fight better too. But like the elemental shields and stuff, like in playing as Knuckles, is like there is a lot of cool stuff in the later games. But something about Sonic 2, like the way it looks, like the colors just pop a little bit differently. Like I don't know, like Sonic sprite looks a little different than it does in the other games, and something about it like is really appealing. And like Brian, I know you don't like it, but I love Chemical Plant Zone.
Yeah, Chemical Plant Zone's awesome.
It's one of the worst levels in that game.
You just drown too much, don't you?
No, it's just it breaks up the pace. That's the problem. It's you want to go fast, and it's like, all right, here, let me just trudge through this water area. I don't like Mario games, and that's what it turns it into.
Oh, see, as a Sonic 1 guy, that's all Marble Garden Zone is. Like, it's bad. But I don't know. I think Sonic 2 is where they kind of really perfected the Sonic formula. You could say like they refined it better in the later games, or even Sonic CD if you wanted to bring.
I agree with
in
that.
a minute.
Yeah,
I think Sonic CD is a little too claustrophobic, and like the time travel thing doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm not wild about that game.
Look, you just haven't gone back in time and gotten all of the old Chaos Emeralds so that you could stop Robotnik before he took over.
Oh, my thing with it is more like the way they have it so you can switch between time zones is like really difficult and unintuitive. Like I don't think the level layout where they have like the little starting gates for it, I don't think they're in good spots where you can like get the momentum you need to go 88 miles per hour.
You should already be going 88 miles per hour, Scott. That's the point.
But see that one though, like the necessity of that game is you have to explore more. So you, in theory, you need to be going slower than you do in the other Sonic games.
No, you just know. You just know where they're at.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, see,
it's one of the hardest ones.
It's a fundamental thing that I don't like. It's not what I come to like that era of Sonic 4. But the opening cutscene is awesome. Like nobody's gonna say it's not. But with that, Brian, what's one of your favorite Genesis games? You don't have to pick the top one, but let me
all right. So I've got like a list of stuff of like we should talk about these. If I had to say, like, if you told me go play Genesis right now, I think the answer is clearly that I put Outrun in. I love Outrun. I love the arcade cabinet of Outrun. I love almost every port of Outrun that they've made. There's just something serene about that super scalar driving. It's really, really nice. It's smooth. It's just simple. It's got that simple classic arcade feel of just go forward,
And
without too
don't
much.
hit anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think I ever played. I don't think I definitely didn't play it as a kid on Genesis, but I'm pretty sure I played that in the arcades at some point. There was a lot. I'm going to amend an earlier statement. There was a lot of Sega racing games, I think, that were in the arcades around here.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had Outrun. What else did they have? I mean, I know eventually they had the Cruising series.
The Sega Rally games.
Yeah.
There's now I
Oh,
gotta think
virtual
of it.
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to bring up Virtua.
The
I couldn't
Polygon.
remember if there was or wasn't. But you know, Outrun's a good pick. It's got some great music.
Some of the best.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
I like that they used some of it in the one Sega and Sonic Racing's Transformed. There's an Outrun section. I think you can unlock the car. I know the car's playable in one of the virtual fighting games.
Yes. No, that is Rocket from Daytona, USA.
Oh, okay. That's something different then.
That's Saturn, but also a Sega racing game.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking then. But yes, and yeah, more Sega racing. They love to drive. They always needed to go fast, even before Sonic was a thing. But yeah, how about you, Wes? What's one of your picks?
Man, that's a tough one because I don't think I have a favorite game more so than a genre because I love the side-scrolling shooters.
Mm-hmm.
I love like Thunder Force, Garrus, Whiplash, like any side-scrolling shooter, like R-Type, I love. But if you're forcing me to pick one game, I would probably have to say Batman, The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah.
Just because it's Batman and it was insanely hard and I never beat it.
Yeah, Kendall, didn't we try playing that once and we couldn't beat the first boss like after a million tries?
I don't think we could figure out how to like hit him or something.
Yeah, I think it's Harley Quinn's the first boss, right? Like
don't
someone in a
remember.
giant mech.
Man.
And I was like, oh man, we couldn't figure it out, but like it was fun the first level.
Yeah.
It was fun to play. It just you couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah. I know we mentioned Gunstar Heroes earlier. That's a really fun shooter, in my opinion. It's also great because it's cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
As someone with a little brother, the games we could play at the same time were a big deal for us then. Like again on that 6-pack card, I guess we can. I'll take over a little bit, but like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe, like kind of the same, but like similar enough style games. But like we would play them over and over and over again, just because we could both play them at the same time. And I had a love for the side-scrolling brawler. We talked a little bit about it before in an earlier podcast, but like Turtles in Time like was a big deal. They were my favorite games in the arcades. Ninja Turtles and Simpsons and X-Men and stuff like. So having them at home was fun. Plus, like in the
Streets of Rage was amazing though.
Plus Streets of Rage, you could
in Streets of Rage and heard the soundtrack. I thought was great. The
we're
great.
Talking about good soundtracks. Oh my gosh. That was one of the. I think that's the first game on Genesis we beat. Which is pretty crazy. But like I remember the first time we discovered the button that summons the police car and they shoot a bazooka and it kills everything on the stage. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. I love Streets of Rage, but like Golden Axe 2 is also really great. The Golden Axe Into the Wilderness theme song is so good. It's one of my favorite retro game songs. That's one of my favorite ones when like they do like metal covers of stuff. It's so badass. But like, yeah, Streets of Rage has this really like funky soundtrack and look to it. It's one of the better pixel frames I think that they have at the store. Just because it's so like aesthetically pleasing with like its dark blues and like neons and stuff. It almost looks like what Cyberpunk 2077 was trying to be back then, except it doesn't crash every 2 seconds.
That's what Cyberpunk needs. Blast processing.
Or so I've heard. I haven't actually played it. I was like not hyped for that game. But this isn't a Cyberpunk podcast. We'll go back to Sega Genesis.
No, we're gonna run for over 30 minutes.
It's fine.
Do you remember? I remember I hadn't played much of Streets of Rage, but I do remember Sears in the mall that I know two of you work at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sears used to have like a Genesis like stand, and I remember like sneaking away from my mom and playing Streets of Rage 2 on that thing for what felt like an hour, and it was great.
Yeah. Our dentist's office, I think they still have this in their waiting room. They had like a Genesis standing thing, which had like
wow.
6 games or whatever. You could like you could push a button and it will just move on to the next one. So it was like Sonic 2, a baseball game, Cool Spot, I think Aladdin. There might have been 1 or 2 other games, but like, something you could do while you're, waiting.
Now I want to go to the dentist.
Yeah.
Nobody does.
My adult dentist doesn't have anything fun like that because they're for adults. But I remember playing that. Like, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, oh, I want this, even though I could just do that at home anyway. Really, just change the game. But I thought it was really cool. But yeah, it reminded me of that. I remember, I think Sears had like other things set up because I remember also running away from my mom and playing games and things while she was shopping. They probably were more aware of us being there than we thought.
Yeah. Just had to play that Streets of Rage though.
Streets of Rage is the bomb.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't played the new one yet. I really want to. But it came out and it was like $30 or something. I was like, I don't feel like spending that
It's
much
so
money right
good.
now. Yeah,
It's
I know. I
so
hear it's
good.
really good. It looks really good. How's the soundtrack in it?
Really good.
What you would expect. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
All
good.
right, good. All right, well, I'll pick it up someday. I'm playing through 4 games right now. I need to beat one of them first.
I know the struggle.
Yeah. But yeah, Kendall, what's another one of your faves?
So a game I really liked, and I've never been in the presence of so many diehard Genesis fans, so maybe maybe one of you people would have heard of it. It was called Cheeky Boys.
Mhm.
You know it? I'm
I
glad.
know it,
Yeah,
I know it because it's coming to the store.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
yeah. You play as like a chibi anime sword boy going through like Kirby levels, basically. And it was a lot of fun. I liked that game a lot. It was like it had like RPG elements, but it was an action game, even though I didn't know what RPG elements were.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, oh, cool, I can get this magic spell. And it was basically like a bomb in one of those side-scrolling shooters.
Yeah, we just clear the screen real quick.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I like that game.
I know it came in and Sean at the store knew what it was. The first time I'd ever heard of it, I was like, what the hell is this? He's like, oh, you never heard of Cheeky Boys? Let's play it. I was like, oh, this is super random. But he was like really stoked that it was there.
That's cool.
That's my Cheeky Boys story.
What did you think of it?
It was cool. I mean, we were at work, so I didn't get a chance to really play it. Like play it, or you want to sit down and enjoy it. People come in and you have to talk to them, and so you don't really get to play a lot of video games.
You mean you don't just play video games at your job?
Believe it or not, we do work at work.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say we've all worked at the store now, but Kendall, actually, you haven't.
I volunteered.
Yeah, but it's a little different.
Yeah, a lot more fun.
So they used to hang out with me when we were at Pep Boys, and we would watch Doctor Who on Netflix when there was no customers.
No, really?
Yeah.
Good memory. I was probably intoxicated or something.
So, well, I know we were eating Chinese food.
Now I want Chinese food. Great.
Yeah, we used to be next door to a Chinese food place.
Mhm.
And Domino's, when Domino's started using real ingredients. Remember when that was a thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man, nothing better. But speaking of better, Brian, what's one of your another one of your picks here? Because I know you said you had that big list.
All right, let's go for something that we probably won't talk about otherwise. There's a good one. Ranger X is a really neat side-scrolling shooter platformer hybrid thing. you're a robot and you're destroying a lot of stuff, kind of like in a Contra style or something like that. But it makes really interesting use of the 6-button controller, because not only do you have a robot, you have basically like a motorcycle equivalent for a robot, and you can either transform into, like, morph in with this robot thing and change your weapons over and do all sorts of cool stuff with that, or you can separately control the robot motorcycle and have it shoot in different directions and stuff too. It's a really, really like hard playthrough, but it's definitely enjoyable and a lot of fun.
Okay, that's another one I see. It's just I know because of the store, but I don't really get a chance to check it out. But that sounds like it's something up my alley. Sounds a little like Guardian Legends for NES.
Kind of.
Well, like Guardian Legend, you
Yeah.
transform, but like then it changes, like gameplay style goes from a shooter to like a Zelda.
Yeah, no,
Or
this is strictly like side-scrolling shooter.
Yeah.
All right, Wes, what about you? I see a couple of gems behind you.
Yeah. Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah. Oh, there's Batman. So you got Moonwalker there. What's next to Moonwalker?
What's next to Moonwalker? Oh, Garius. It was a side-scrolling shooter. I would probably have to say Shinobi, Shadow Dancer.
Yeah, so I know you streamed Shadow Dancer for the store for a little bit. Oh, like
where
like
you got the little
4 years
dog
ago.
and-
Yeah,
it was because the Shinobi series in general, because playing the first one in the arcade and playing Shadow Dancer in the arcade, and then it came out on the Genesis, and I was super excited, and I like sat there until I beat it, and then you got Shinobi 3 when he rode the horse. But I think out of the three, Shadow Dancer is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shadow Dancer was fun. I remember we were playing it on stream years ago, which is funny. Like I had Revenge of Shinobi on that 6-pack. Like I barely played that. I think I played Columns once.
It's a shame you barely played that, because that
Yeah.
would have blown your mind when you ran into Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was really hard and wasn't like as immediately fun as like Sonic, Streets of Rage, and Golden Axe. Because like I didn't really play Super Hang On, and I think we played Columns once, and I was like, oh, I'm not playing that again. Which that's because I was a little kid, and it's a puzzle game, not because Columns is inherently bad. I might like it now. I just haven't played it since.
It was a good alternative to Tetris.
Yeah, and like I liked Tetris as a kid, but it's like I'd play it until we lost, and then I'd play something else. Like I wouldn't sit there and try to get good at it. But Shadow Dancer is pretty cool. That's like one of the later Shinobi games, right? It's like the third or fourth one.
The second one.
Mhm.
Was it the second one? I think part of the reason like people don't talk about it is like they all had such wildly different names from each other. It's not like Shinobi 1, 2, 3, 4. Like Shadow Dancer. What does that even mean? Like I wouldn't even think that's a ninja game.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially one where you have a dog sidekick and you can send him to like hold enemies and like you can kill them then. It's neat. It's a neat game. It's a good pick. Well, we haven't talked about any sports titles. I know that was a big part of Sega's bread and butter. But there's only one we need to talk about, and that's NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
You're wrong. It's NHL 94.
I totally disagree. NHL
I go with Madden football.
You guys are all wrong, man.
Madden's great on the Genesis.
Nothing's better than NBA Jam, man. It's the perfect arcadey sports game. Like so much that they even had to bring it back on the PlayStation 3 and stuff.
NBA Jam's good, but it wasn't all that different between the Super Nintendo version. It's if you play the Super Nintendo version, it's a fine NBA Jam. When you play a lot of the EA Sports games on the Super Nintendo, they're terrible.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically the Genesis one. That's probably the game I put the most hours into. If we count the individual games on the Genesis 6-pack as different games and not one cartridge. But like, yeah, man, because again, there's a game my brother and I could play, and we could play not necessarily together all the time. Like we could compete, we could play on the same team. You could unlock the Fresh Prince of Bel Air and DJ Jazzy Jeff, and you could also beat Bill Clinton. So we would do that because it was hilarious. But mostly we just had the Bulls because all you needed Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, and you were good to go. Like they were just unbeatable, like in real life and in that game. I don't even remember who other players are in it. I think we played this as Charlotte Hornets a little bit because our mascot at our elementary school was the Hornets. But it was the 90s, so the Bulls were where it was at. But I just remember playing it so much. I love all of the different shout outs and things. Once we figured out how you could control whether or not you got fire, like that's all we wanted to do was to see how long we could keep each other from like having a fire win streak. Because that was the coolest thing in the world. All of a sudden the ball's on fire and it burns the net. Like, oh, it's so neat. We try to do dunks from as far away as possible because you can do them from like beyond half court. It's just so over the top and fun. Those are the kinds of sports games I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like the simulation games, which is why I don't like those other ones as much.
I mean, there is the Mutant League ones.
The Mutant League book games I want to like more than I do. I think they're a little hard to figure out. Like they're not as immediately easy to pick up and play. Do you know what I mean? Whereas NBA Jam, there's pass, shooting, like block.
You also had Super High Impact. I mean, that was like fighting football.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. There's so many, and there's so many are just named after random players nobody even remembers anymore. Like who remembers Bill Walsh?
Oh yeah, the college one.
Yeah, the college one. I mean, the only one that jumped to my mind was Joe Montana. I know who that is. Like I know there's a ton of them where it's just like.
Yeah, Tommy Lasorda's baseball was a launch title.
Yeah, Tommy Lasorda. Yeah, like I guess they were inspired by like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and they tried to get as many like personalities. But that's where Madden comes from.
Yeah. Oh man, playing John Madden on the Genesis for the first time was like amazing, especially when there was an injury. You had the little ambulance that rolled on the field. And then you had little halftime highlights. It was like, oh my god, I can't believe we're playing this. Coming from something like Tecmo Bowl to playing that, it was mind blowing.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but we still bring out an old Madden game every Super Bowl.
We streamed some Super Bowl games the one year, right, Brian? What did we play? We played Mutant League Football, I remember.
We definitely played Madden 95.
Did we play Madden 95? I think we did a Tecmo Bowl.
Probably Super Tecmo Bowl for the NES.
I assume it was because it's got Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
That's all you need in that game. But sometimes sports games are fun. Like I usually like to play one a generation, like per sport. Like it's usually like hockey or football. But occasionally a baseball game's fun. But like I said, I like the less simulation-y ones. I like the more arcadey ones. Mm-hmm. So when they remade NBA Jam or like rather made a new NBA Jam a couple years ago, I was all about that. I was so hyped. And that guy, they brought back the original announcer. And then one of my favorite pinball games, we're just going to go off on tangents. There was which year is that World Cup game, Brian? 96?
I think it's World Cup 96, if I'm not mistaken.
But he's doing all the call outs and stuff in that, and it just feels like NBA Jam, the pinball game. But that one's a lot of fun to shoot. If you get a chance to play it, they have it at Starcade in the mall where we are. But if you get a chance to play that anywhere, play it. It's a fun game. You just can't put your pinballs on fire, on physical table. You have to save it for the digital versions on Pinball FX.
94.
94, okay. Someone with like a beagle or something. He looks like Augie Daddy. Is like the mascot. But yeah, that I'd be remiss if we didn't at least talk a little bit about some sports games.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to specifically talk about NBA Jam. Because that was like cheat code central of the game. Like so many different things you could do in it. And it was so much. I don't know. I have a lot of fond memories of it. It was, it shaped a lot of what I like about sports video games. But let's go back down the line here.
I was gonna say you can't forget when Sega introduced Sports Talk Football.
Yep.
Like the first cartridge with commentary with Joe Montana.
Oh my God. I assume that sounded probably pretty bad now. I remember when they.
Yeah.
I remember, was it Sonic 3? There was like some sound clips, or it says like "come on" or something as like you're about to fight a boss. And I remember not even really realizing that was supposed to be like, I guess, Sonic talking.
I think so.
Like when I was a kid until like later, I'm like, oh, that's weird.
I just thought it was part of the music.
Yeah, so did I. I was just like, okay, that's the part. Because they would do stuff like that in like Streets of Rage and things, where it's like part of the song sounds a little bit like someone talking. Oh man. Kendall, what's another one of your top Genesis games?
So, going back to what you were saying about columns, there was a Genesis puzzle game I thought was so incredibly lame. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I was just like, what is this? In my old age, in the year, I know it's 2021 now, but in 2020, I fell in love with the Puyo Puyo games because they put it on the Super Nintendo Online, and yeah, now I love those games as an older person. So the exact situation you described as a theoretic possibility for columns happened to me with Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Yeah, I think because I also didn't really like it as a kid either. I think in retrospect, I would prefer Puyo Puyo to Tetris, or maybe not Tetris, but like I kind of really like that as one of those like drop down puzzle games. Brian, I know you're a big Puyo Puyo guy.
I do like some Puyo Puyo. I like it's Tetris Attack a little bit better, but Puyo Puyo is probably number 2.
Yeah, Tetris Attack was the one on Super Nintendo.
Yep.
That's the one that's Yoshi themed, right?
Yes, it's the slide puzzle-y one.
Yeah. But I'm not much of a puzzle game guy. I do like Tetris. Like now as a more grown-up person, like I do like trying to get good at those games sometimes. Man, Kendall, you need to play Sonic Mania then.
Oh, I think you already showed me that.
Yeah, the Boston Chemical Plant Zone is a Mean Bean game. And then I think there's like a side game in it where you just play that. So it just has Mean Bean Machine in it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's I thought that was the coolest thing in the world when that happened, because it starts off like the normal boss fight, and then you drop down and you're just in that machine. So like Sonic's controlling your side and Robotnik's controlling his other, and you have to beat him to like beat the level. Although I got really nervous at first. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get past this part because I'm really bad at those games. But
I'm sure they don't make it too difficult.
They don't make it too difficult. They want,
especially since there's nowhere to practice.
Yeah, it's the second level too, so like they want you to get past it. But yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, does Sonic Spinball age any better for any of you? I wanted to like it as a kid, but like I couldn't. But now that we're into pinball, I know Harry. I don't know what it was. I never got past the first level. I think because I just didn't know what you're supposed to shoot for.
Yeah, that was my problem with Sonic Spinball.
It's like level 4s where it starts to get kind of really obtuse, but the first 3 aren't all that bad.
I just remember thinking the game looked really ugly.
It is.
Yeah. I remember being like, because there's the part where the pop bumpers are like these little shark heads or something that come out of the wall.
Yep.
I remember I'd always get stuck up in there, and then Sonic would just bounce back and forth. I'm like, man, because the Casino Nights levels were like my least favorite in the regular games. I'm like, why am I playing a whole game of this?
See, I loved them. In Sonic 2, the Casino Zone, I loved it, but that love did not translate to Sonic Spinball.
But yeah, I'm wondering if I go back to it now, how much I would like it. Maybe I'll hate it more. I don't know. But it's kind of cool that like they were able to like, even then there was like a million Sonic spin-off games. Like we just mentioned 2 of them in the same breath. Granted, Mean Bean Machine wasn't originally designed as a Sonic one.
Yeah, well, American kids can't understand what a Puyo Puyo is, but they sure know what a Mean Bean is.
Listen, I get slapping a brand on it that was more recognizable. If it was just called Puyo Puyo, I don't think anyone would care, but because it was tied to the Sonic franchise, it'd keep getting re-released with Sonic collections and stuff. Which is interesting that it used the like cartoon and not like anything from the games, because it's got like Scratch and Grounder, and it's got like that weird pointy-headed version of Robotnik.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. Sega of America, approves those cartoons, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Man, I loved that cartoon so much as a kid, and watching it now, I don't understand why.
Mhm.
It is like so asinine, and there's like no like logic anywhere in it, and it's just like I don't. Why did I like this so much? Whereas I
Who
didn't.
needs logic?
Whereas like I didn't like the Saturday morning one because like I had to watch every episode because it wasn't entirely episodic. And like what's this weird French gerbil? What is happening? I don't understand this, so I just didn't care. I mean, it had a sweet opening.
It sure did.
Yeah.
Now I want to kill your dog.
It's funny you mentioned that. I kind of do too. But I also just haven't had one in a long time. Yeah, I guess Mario has his mushrooms. They just needed to give Sonic something.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it's not like they're going to give him like insects or stuff that actual hedgehogs eat.
Now that'd be gross.
I mean, the 90s was all about that gross stuff. Like there's commercials for Kirby where like someone eats so much they explode and like just goo covering the game then, like things like that. Like Booger Man was a thing.
Yeah, that's why they
Yeah.
came out with Booger Man.
I have a game for Genesis called The Ooze, where it's basically like you play as the Blob from the movie The Blob.
Yeah.
But like there's so much stuff that's just like toxic waste, and just that's what it's about.
The 90s was all about toxic waste.
How much do you think that's the Ninja Turtles' fault?
I think a lot of it is the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So do I. Like, and like, is there good? Kendall, you would be the best person to ask besides myself. What's there a good Ninja Turtles game for Genesis? Like a really standout one. Like Hyperstone Heist is fine.
And then what was the other one? Tournament Fighters?
There's
there
Tournament
any more?
Fighters. Yeah,
Yes.
Tournament Fighters was
Yes.
lame no matter what system.
Just bad.
you were on.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
Yeah.
there was another one on there.
I think it was
that's
just
it.
those two.
Oh.
Yeah. It's Nintendo won the Ninja Turtle
And Nintendo, all it had was Turtles in Time because it also had Tournament Fighter, which sucked.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like, it's like they had the original.
Yeah, they had the original 3 games. Yeah, which were a lot of fun. But yeah, I remember like in the wake of the Ninja Turtles, there was a lot of anthropomorphic like animals with attitude, like especially on the Genesis. Oh my God, there are so many mascots. But that's also I think Sonic's influence as well. But like I just remember there being like a lot of like toxic waste and mutants being a thing, like stuff just being gross in general. Because a lot of Turtles toys were like, covered in sewer crap and like.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nickelodeon started doing it.
Yeah, with like GAC and Splat like logos and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Man, 90s was weird.
What a weird time. Did anyone play Comics Zone?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a game I always wanted to play and never have. What is it? Is it cool?
I think it looks cooler than it is to play. I don't know if everyone agrees with me. It's neat that you're on a comic book page and you have to go from panel to panel and like beat dudes up, but like it's very stiff. It's extremely difficult. I don't know. I just never felt super compelled. Like I play it until I die, and I'm like, I don't feel like getting better at this. The story's weird. Like it's cool that like the bad guys get like drawn in as you like to spawn in. It's aesthetically really neat. It's worth playing at least once just to see it.
Just to see it. Yeah, because it was like once you beat a level, the character would grab the panel and swing to the next panel.
Yeah,
or
like
there would be a hole at the bottom panel and he would jump in and then the whole screen would like shift to a new panel.
Like to find
it's
some
part of a
secrets,
comic
you would
book.
rip the page.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it's neat. It's just I don't think the gameplay's very fun.
Word.
If that makes any sense. I don't want to speak for anyone else here.
Yeah, it's way too hard for its own good, but it's a lot of really interesting ideas that had they not made it as difficult probably would have landed much better.
Yeah, like I'd love to kind of revisit that. I know they sort of did on an Xbox like arcade game, Comic Jumper is what I think it was called, where you played in different
Yeah,
comic
that's
books.
not very good.
The only cool thing about that is because you would jump to different styles of comic, and there's a manga stage, but instead of going from left to right, you're going from right to left in it. And I thought that was kind of clever and neat. Like, it's in black and white and stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's just not very fun. Like, Comic Zone might be a little bit more fun. Like, Comic Zone's also more interesting just because it's got that 16-bit limitations. So being able to like have something as impressive looking on its Sega Genesis is more interesting and more impressive because it's, you know, more difficult to do. But let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with some more, and then we'll talk about maybe some more obscure games or games we didn't discover until we were a little bit longer in the tooth here. Created by husband and wife team Kendall and Kayla, Star Savior Bunny combines Sailor Moon-esque superheroics with the challenges of early adulthood. Read for free at tapis.io and check out their Instagram at Star Savior Bunny for new updates and projects. Thank you for listening to our podcast, but have you checked out our store yet? We sell all kinds of nerdy products from comics and graphic novels to retro video games, model kits, toys, and statues, and more. Visit us at levelupentertainment.com, and as a special exploratory promotion, the first 20 people to use the code FRIENDSCAST at checkout will receive 10% off their first purchase. If this is successful, we will do more podcast exclusive promotions in the future. That's levelupentertainment.com and code FRIENDSCAST. FRIENDSCAST.
This message is for Ileana and Miguel. Hey, this is Gabriel Iglesias.
It's Mark Hamill here.
What's up, y'all? This is me, DMC, the KING.
Martha Sedan, the Zombie King.
I'm Paul Felder, UFC fighter.
WWE superstar Sonya Deville.
What's up, guys? This is Harry Mack.
Hi, I'm Julia Leewald.
And I'm Eric Leewald.
Hey, this is Matt Cardona from the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
Yakko Warner here, described mysteriously as an old man from Michigan. And you are watching Toy Quest 101, baby.
And you're watching Toy Quest 101.
You're watching Toy Quest 101.
And you're watching Toy Quest 101.
Hey guys, it's Ileana and Miguel here from Toy Quest 101.
Make sure to check us out for toy reviews, statue unboxings, and to see what celebrity guests might pop up to help us inspire kids with autism and special needs.
You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Toy Quest 101.
Oh, and remember, the Force will be with you always.
Bye now.
Now, Brian, you were big into the add-ons and stuff. What are some like Genesis 32X and Sega CD games you were into?
All right. Well, I think before we get too deep into Sega CD, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't address the elephant in the room, which was the full motion video games.
Yeah.
Which was a series of games that they had made because they figured out how to digitize video and put it on video games in very low resolution. And it was really, really mind-blowing at the time to see something like that. If you watch it today, it's all really bad. It's amazing that not only did they take this brand new cutting edge technology and really push it to the limit, but also found the absolute worst actors that they could potentially have found anywhere. I've seen college plays that are better acted than these, but
I've seen high school plays that are better acted.
But it's that camp level that makes them so interesting. One of my favorites is Double Switch, and it's a really interesting one. It's similar to Night Trap, but it's basically burglars breaking into this weird like boarding house, and you go around and like watch everybody in it. In a similar vein of like a Night Trap, there's Sewer Shark, which it's bad. Just skip Sewer Shark. But what one of my I think my favorite one though is Road Avenger, where they took the low res FMV style and used it to their advantage, and now it's a hand drawn animated basically Mad Max cartoon, and you play it like you would an FMV game with very stiff controls and very predictable behavior, similar to like Dragon's Lair.
Okay.
But it's Dragon's Lair, but you're driving a muscle car through like dystopian wasteland. It's really neat.
Okay. Let's say, because I was going to ask, are there any genuinely good FMV games? Because like I know they have kind of like an ironic enjoyment factor. Like they're neat to see as like a historical artifact if you didn't grow up with this stuff. Where it's like, but like, who's going to play like the Music Factory games for real?
Wow. But
big Christopher Cross fan.
No, but if you're gonna go back and look at the technology, it's Road Avenger's probably the best one to actually go play. And then for enjoyment's sake to go look at it and go, haha, this is dumb. It's Night Trap and Double Switch.
I picked up Night Trap. They put it on Switch, and I thought that was hilarious, so I picked one up because famously Howard Lincoln said in the not Supreme Court, like Congress, like Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo console.
Yep.
I was like, well, it's on a Nintendo console now, and here it is on sale, so let me just pick it up. But I tried playing it for the first time. I'm like, I hate everything about this. I would so much rather just watch a YouTube video of the movie. But the development of that game is kind of interesting if you guys get a chance to like look in on it. We won't go too deep on it because I'm not an expert at it. But yeah, it was supposed to be a very different game than what it was. Like I didn't even realize those are supposed to be vampires or ninjas. Like those are what they were supposed to be. They said there's weird shuffling dudes that just kind of like grab at you. It's so weird. It's such a weird game. And it's so weird how much controversy it caused. It caused just as much controversy as Mortal Kombat, which like I understand that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, people saw that one.
Yeah, like I don't know. Mortal Kombat blew my mind too at the time. Like with the digitized actors and that. I was like, it's like playing for real. And now looking at it now, it's like so bad looking.
Those full motion video games, like Ryan mentioned, that was the reason I bought a Sega CD. Just for those cartoony type games like Road Avenger,
or like Time
Gal.
Yeah.
You had Cobra Command, which were it was just like Road Avenger, but you piloted a helicopter, and it was very similar to Dragon's Lair. You lit up left, right. Hit the button to fire your missiles and stuff, but it was all animated. And I was like, oh my goodness, cartoons I'm playing cartoons in a game. Yeah. I was so excited. I was like, I have to buy this thing.
Yeah, I think there was so much garbage in FME games. Like I remember there was like Power Ranger ones, which just plays like a crappy like 0 resolution Power Rangers episode. But, like you have to push buttons in certain directions that like don't correspond with the actions on screen. And if you don't do it, you just fail. I'm like, I could just get a VHS tape of this.
Yeah.
And watch
it was Dragon's Lair. There was a lot of Dragon's Lair type games on the Sega CD.
Yeah, including Dragon's Lair.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they put Dragon Lair on there. They put Space Ace on there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know there's a Space Ace Super Nintendo port, which is bad. I know.
But there was also a Star Wars game for Sega CD, which was actually pretty decent. And it was a full motion video game.
I thought it was a 32X game.
It's half full motion video, half not. It's Star Wars Rebel Assault.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's part of it. It's got a lot of full motion like features and cutscenes and stuff like that, and it's really interesting. A lot of the gameplay isn't FMV. Some of the gallery stages are kind of like Area 51 or Revolution X, where they've spliced people in like in the full motion video in like shooting gallery type of stuff, but a lot of it's gameplay.
Okay.
That one's definitely worth like if you like Star Wars, go play Rebel Assault. It might be the best early Star Wars game.
Well, I know there's a 32X game too, isn't there?
That one's
Star Wars
the arcade.
Yeah.
That's the arcade.
One's more the vector graphics one.
But it's not vector graphics, right? They actually added.
They shaded it. They added polygons and it's all shaded.
But it's based on the old Star Wars vector games.
Okay. Well, I mean, what other Sega CD games are there besides FMV games? I can't think of many.
Oh, we also had Snatcher for Sega CD.
Yep.
But nobody played Snatcher.
and they're missing out. That was probably one of the best games that no one's heard of that came out.
That's the Hideo Kojima joint.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm upset. I sold mine to the store.
Oh,
So I'm like, you know what? I'm never gonna play Snatcher again. Hey, let me sell it to the store.
Yeah, I think we sold that.
And it was like super expensive.
Yeah, so we haven't seen one since we had that one, and I think.
Yeah, now there's a lot of good Sega CD stuff. There's the Lunar series. There's a lot of working design stuff.
Mm-hmm.
See, Lunar, I think PlayStation.
Yeah, it originally is Sega CD.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what other really good ones. A lot of, like we were talking about earlier, the ports of everything. So like the Mickey Mania port, going back to the Disney stuff, it sounds incredible and it plays great. There's really no other way to play that game.
Okay.
Sylphide's pretty great on there as well. Now I gotta look up
that
more.
came packaged in with my Sega CD.
Mm-hmm.
What game? What kind of game is that?
It was a side-scrolling shooter.
Okay, a lot of that stuff at that time. I think that's still a little around that the 80s. The 80s was like the space age for games because you didn't have to program like black for space. So like there was just a lot of space shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Not complaining, I love Galaga and things like that, but
there's a Lords of Thunder port for Sega CD that's great, going back to the shooters.
Yeah, because that's a helicopter shooter, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or it's a side-scrolly, kind of like a medieval fantasy one. It was also on the Turbo CD.
Okay.
We've also got, what else is there? There's big ones.
We got Batman Returns, which was a port of the cartridge, but they added in driving scenes,
which are crazy cool.
Did they make that game? Did they make that game fun to play?
Yeah.
The driving scenes are fun.
Yeah.
Wait. Which Batman game is the one where you played like Mortal Kombat? Was that? Was that Batman Forever?
Forever.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of. Where it was like.
Yeah, that's the bad one.
Yeah.
With the digitized characters.
But like you had like the Mortal Kombat uppercuts, but like it's a side-scrolling game. It's like all the controls don't really make sense to like navigate around.
Mm-hmm.
It should have just been a fighting game if that's what they wanted to do.
There's also the Lethal Enforcer series. So you would like gun games for at home.
Was there any light gun games on the regular vanilla Genesis?
Lethal Enforcers. There's a cart version.
Yeah, I thought there was a cart version. I mean, I don't know. So you guys had the hardware add-ons back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kendall, do you know anyone that had those?
I knew a kid who had a Sega CD, but I never got to play it. But he would always like brag to me that he like played Sonic CD. I was like, oh God, I gotta play Sonic CD.
I've seen you've played Sonic CD since it was new.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think it's cool. It's definitely not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But I also haven't given it. I probably haven't given it a fair shot, honestly.
Okay, that's fair to say then, I guess.
Yeah, because it got ported to like PC, and I like played it on there, but I also I hated that because I didn't have a PC controller.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like with a keyboard.
Not fun.
Yeah, but it's on like everything.
When you said we were going to do the Genesis podcast, immediately I thought of the Sega CD, and I think we were talking about it in the store. Mm-hmm. I called out of work because I knew it was coming out like launch day to get it.
Yeah,
nice.
Like I called out of work. Where
were you working at the time?
I was selling cars.
Okay.
I was selling cars.
This
and
is
I
what
was like, I'm sick.
Was this like 1994 or something?
Something like that. Yeah. And I ran to the mall, to Electronics Boutique, and I was friends with everybody in the store, and they were like, "Hey, it's coming out." I was like, "Okay, I got it. I'm gonna get it." We got there before opening, and there were people lined up. I was like number 3 in line. Needless to say, they didn't show up.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, shipment's late. It'll be here by 1." Okay. We just hang around. 1 o'clock came. Never showed up. Okay, well, we just got word. It'll be here by 5.
Oh God.
Okay, so we just kind of hung around. Like, okay, well, 5 o'clock came, no shipment. Oh, well, we're told we have to go pick them up from another store, and this is at this point it's like 6 o'clock.
Jeez.
Needless to say, the district manager didn't get back to the store until 11 o'clock that night. So we just basically stood in line all day to get this thing. But it was like the best time. I was just super, super excited to get it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing CD games and animated games. And it was great.
What'd you get with it?
Soul Feast, which is a side-scrolling shooter that came packaged in with it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Star Wars Rebel Assault and Heavy Nova, which was a 2D robot fighting game that didn't control well.
It sucks.
I'm sure it was really cool at the time.
We're being super generous. It sucked then.
At the time, because it had an animated intro, and that I was all about it. That sold me right there.
All right. I mean, I guess the marketing gimmicks were working, where it's like, oh, videos you can play. I mean, as a kid, I thought that was cool, but like, I knew better than to ask for one. I wasn't gonna get it, because I think it was like another $100 or something. I forget how much it was.
It was I want to say it was like 200-300.
Yeah, it was pretty
It was
expensive.
the original Gen 1 that clipped on the side. Yeah, it was like, I want to say it was like 200, 250.
Yeah. And I just wanted to play Sonic, which I could. So, I mean, obviously I had other games. This is going to sound really lame, but one of my favorite games for it was the Magic School Bus. I had that as a kid. I remember that being one of the first ones I did. It's the one where they go through the whole solar system. It's like each planet has like different stages. Like there's one where you're like flying to it and you have to like avoid like space debris and stuff. You have to land. They go through like a momentum based like landing sequence. Like you have to go through like different caverns and things. And then there's a side scrolling like exploration part. But, like I thought it was really cool. And that was one of the first games I beat like completely. I remember just, like I said, I'm sure nobody cares about that game but me, but I liked it as a kid. As I love the books and stuff, so.
Magic School Bus is good. I prefer Blaster Master.
I loved Blaster Master too, but I also loved Math Blaster. If we're
or Math Blaster, that's it.
Yeah, Math Blaster. We're talking educational games, but like it was cool because you get like fact sheets and stuff about planets and space and stuff, and that was still when space was cool. Now it's like, oh, we don't even go there anymore. Who cares? We're just gonna have our garbage raining down on us for years now.
Going back to Genesis cartridges, does anybody remember Castlevania Bloodlines?
Yes,
I do not.
You should go get mine.
It was super, super hard.
Yeah, I wasn't into Castlevania.
Very difficult.
A lot of the Konami ports for Genesis were way harder than anything that they put out on Nintendo.
Yeah, because you had Castlevania, and then they released Contra.
Contra Hardcore.
Yeah,
crazy hard too.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, is it
They're
hardcore?
both some of the.
Yeah, so you
Sorry,
like hardcore, right?
Oh, it's easily my favorite Contra game.
Yeah, that's what
it's far and away. But no, it's both of those. The Contra Hardcore and Castlevania Bloodlines are really standout entries in their series. I mean, Bloodlines is probably one of the best Castlevanias, and then I really like Hardcore. I know a lot of people don't because they think it's too weird and too hard. But
yeah, I know at the very least it's controversial.
Mm-hmm.
And like in a world where like there's a lot of bad Contra games, and like they're still releasing bad Contra games. Like I think Hardcore is kind of neat. I like how weird it is. Like I like that there's like one of the playable characters is like a cybernetic werewolf, and one is like a tiny little robot who's broken because he's so much harder to hit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's neat. I love the crazy giant bosses and stuff you have. It's not mode 7 that Genesis has, but it has like those cool like 3D-ish kind of models and stuff. Like there's that one where like you're running towards the screen and like the thing has like giant arms that kind of like punches at you.
Yeah, and that's only level 2.
Yeah, that game's out of control. Which is crazy because like the first Contra game's also kind of ridiculous and weird that people like some reason draw the line on that one.
for a lot of people said the Genesis was underpowered compared to the Super Nintendo. I thought Sega pushed it to the limits and cranked out some really impressive games with like really cool effects with the technology that they had at the time.
Yeah, I'm not a specs guy, so I don't know how they actually stack up to each other. But like, it's also like, Genesis got to the market a year earlier, which is a big part of its success as well. A year earlier than Super Nintendo, I should say. But like, it didn't have Mode 7, but like, it kind of didn't matter. Like, Mode 7's neat. Like, there's some great Super Nintendo games that use it, but like, the games fundamentally look similar enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think, like, I think Aladdin looks better on Genesis compared to its Super Nintendo counterpart. I know they have two different developers, but like, it's still the same characters and stuff, so you can still compare them. I think Turtles in Time looks better than Hyperstone Heist, but like I said, Hyperstone Heist is a much smaller game. Like, I don't know what kind of development it had.
Yeah, that one, it just really felt like, here's some leftover code.
Yeah, it really feels like some scraps elements of Turtles in Time.
Yeah, because like there are levels in that game that don't match like the characters even.
Yeah, like
it just feels like it's from a different game.
Yeah, it's that one game's kind of weird. Like I said, it's not bad, it's just not as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, like there's multiple levels and they reuse the same bosses. Like you fight Rocksteady and Tatsu a couple of times. And like, isn't there like a third boss, or is it just Shredder? I can't remember anyone but them.
I can't remember either. Look it up real quick.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, what are the games that are a comparison? Like the Mortal Kombat games, I think look just as good on Genesis as they do. Super Nintendo maybe better.
They played better because the color palette on the Genesis was limited. They didn't look as nice. The colors weren't as bright, but you got blood, and I thought they played well.
Yeah, I also like the 6-button layout a lot more than the Super Nintendo's layout for games like that. Granted, they had the same number of buttons with the shoulder buttons and stuff, but like for Street Fighter, it made it weird because then normally you have your punches and your kicks in a row, and then goes like strong, medium, and fierce, or whatever the Street Fighter terminology for it is. I'm not that big a Street Fighter guy. I mostly just smash my controller until something happens. But yeah, like, oh man, there was a lot of great fight. That was like the fighting genre's heyday too. Like, I think they only released Street Fighter on Genesis twice, right?
Yes.
Championship
Edition,
you
and
had
then
Championship Edition, and then you had Super Street Fighter.
Yes, what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got the best two entries, really.
Yeah, but then there was like 40 different versions on Super Nintendo, which was annoying, I'm sure. Most of my friends like just had vanilla Street Fighter 2 for Super Nintendo. That's mostly what I played. But like we mentioned, Eternal Champions, there was so many. Like there was the Ninja Turtles, the one fighter. There's the
Justice League one.
There's a Justice League one. There's a Power Rangers one,
which is very good.
Yeah, the Power Rangers one's rad. What's rad about it is it's also got Megazord and Power Ranger fights, and the monster characters you can play in both because they scale to the different sizes.
Yeah, the VR Trooper one's bad though.
I didn't even know there was a VR Trooper one.
I never played it.
Oh, don't.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. There's a speaking of that genre of television show, there's for Sega CD, there's apparently a very bad Kamen Rider game.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I really want to find it just to have it. But
did it come out here?
Yeah, it came out here.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah, apparently it's garbage.
Yeah, totally.
It's funny that they released that, and then not like the Godzilla tournament fighter.
Who knows?
Which was decent, but like people know what Godzilla is here, or like Super Back to the Future 2 on Super Famicom. Why didn't we get that?
That is weird.
Yeah, like, oh, finally a good Back to the Future game. Oh, just not gonna put it in the country where it comes from. Okay.
Nope.
Granted, that one specifically is like very chibi and Japanesey, but like I think that wouldn't have bothered people because the gameplay's fun, and you get to ride around on a hoverboard, and that's always awesome. But we'll save that for the Super Famicom discussion.
We're talking about fighting games. We also had Primal.
Primal Rage.
Primal Rage, yeah.
Yeah, Primal Rage, yeah. And then we had, what was that game? Oh, Balls.
Oh, yes. Well, everybody had that, but Genesis certainly had some balls.
Yeah, I know Primal Rage on like Sega CD like would not load the characters if it wasn't hooked up right. Like there'd be a lot of really bad glitches and stuff in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, so many fighting games. So many fighting games. And we had Clay Fighter, which was a claymation type. And,
how many of these games were grid though? There's like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Like we mentioned a couple that are all right, but like that Justice League game's nothing special.
It was bad.
Turtles Tournament Fighters isn't anything special.
It's awful everywhere.
Yeah. It's also that game has a weird character selection, and it's different on every console, including they released it on NES as well.
Yep, and it's bad there too.
Yeah, and it's
bad everywhere.
So, but those games there's what, the 4 Turtles.
And then
no, it's not. It's technically not Karai. I think it's a new character, but it's basically just Karai. But then they had like Wingnut in one and Armageddon in one, and like, oh, who's that dragon guy they used in the Nickelodeon show? He's from the fighting game.
Oh yeah. I forget his name.
But there's a dragon guy that they finally used.
Dragon guy, good old dragon guy. April is a fighter in one.
Oh, isn't his name like Hotspot or something?
I can't remember.
Oh man, that's gonna bother me. Because we were hanging out and watching it. We're like, oh, that's the guy from the fighting game. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Hothead. Yeah, I don't know.
Hothead, I think, is his name. It's something like that because he breathes fire because he's a dragon man. Which, man, in the logic of that show, like someone touched a dragon.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that till just now.
I also looked up. I found an angelfire.com page with the Hyperstone with the Hyperstone Heist boss list on it.
Who are the Hyperstone Heist boss lists?
There's more than we remembered.
I only remember those 2. His name is Hothead, by the way. I looked him up.
Nice. There's Leatherhead is level 1.
Okay.
Rocksteady, and then in parentheses, no bebop ? Is level 2.
Yep.
Then it's Tatsu. Then you fight those 3 again, and then Baxter Stockman.
Is he then, like? I assume he's in fly form because that's what he was.
I think he was in his little
like pod thing.
Yeah, his little Robotnik thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Krang, and then Super Shredder.
Okay.
Still very weird, eclectic mix of bosses.
Maybe my brain was just on 3 because there's 3 you fight twice for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's cool that's like the only time they use Tatsu outside of the live action movies.
Yeah, that is so very random.
Yeah.
That's kind of why it just feels like leftover stuff. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You guys and your turtles.
Oh man,
we do love them.
We can talk about them for a great length.
Yeah.
And we have. We've already done Ninja Turtles podcast episodes.
Twice.
Yeah.
Brian, do you remember a fighting game called Brutal?
Oh, it's hold on. I know what you're talking about.
It came out on cartridge. And
Balls of Fury, yes.
Then they redid it on Sega CD. It was like all of the fighters were animals.
Yep.
Like different animals. And it animated better on the Sega CD because it had better sound, better animation, more color. But it wasn't bad. It played better than Eternal Champions, that's for sure.
Oh, that's not a high.
Everything did. But no, it was somebody taking that mid step between like, here's a fighting game and here's Primal Rage. It's like, well, let's not go to dinosaurs. Let's just go to animals. Here, let's just have a rabbit punch you. Sure. Giant rabbit.
What was the Mortal Kombat ripoff fighting game? Because I know it was like super violent. Where it was like different. Every person was like a different person from time. And like you had a couple like post-apocalyptic, like cyberpunky type characters.
Time killers.
Killer Instinct.
Time killers, yes.
Time killers.
I wish that game was good because that's such an awesome idea. It's like all the worst, like most violent people from like every time period.
Yep.
Like are like sucked together. So I think there's like a Viking or something. I just remember like there's this punk rock guy from the future.
It's just bad.
Yeah. It's such a cool
bad.
concept. I wish they would go back to that. Oh man, what other Genesis games we didn't even talk about? Like, what's some like of the more obscure ones? Like you guys,
we missed a lot of like important ones.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like, what did we miss that's so important? We talked.
We haven't talked about Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah,
yeah.
We
I don't really like
haven't
Toe Jam.
we haven't talked about Bubsy.
Oh, last year with Bubsy.
I feel like Vector Man was cool.
Yeah,
Vector Man was too little, too late. He's a later release. He's really cool, but by that time, everybody had Sega had kind of moved on. They were already looking Dreamcast bound.
All right, Wes, we need to have an intervention with you and your Bubsy.
No, we don't. Bubsy's fine.
Oh God,
only the first one. Only the first one. After that, they
oh yeah, no.
I know you're always trying to put Bubsy on the screen. You know what? All right, so this was the heyday of mascot platformers. Genesis actually, there's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of bad ones, but there's actually a couple. There's a couple of good ones on Genesis. Specifically, Ristar is awesome, and Rocket Knight Adventures is also awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Knight has a little bit of a learning curve. You need to kind of get like your rocket pack figured out. Once you do, that's a really great game that I think is, I guess maybe it's not underrated anymore. It's got its cult following, but Ristar is really good. Like that's a game I wish I had or knew about as a kid. I would have really enjoyed it then. Like I enjoy it now.
Yeah, you're missing Dynamite, Heady, and Cool Spot.
I mean, I love Cool Spot. Like I said, I used to play it at the
love Cool Spot.
Yeah,
Cool Spot might be the best mascot platformer on that game, other than the Sonics.
I wouldn't plant my.
Cool Spot's great.
Cool Spot's fun. I like Ristar more, or Ristar. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but that's like Sega's got so much cool forgotten stuff they don't use. Like when was the last time we got Golden Axe? Like it was Beast Rider on 360. We finally just got a new Streets of Rage after like almost 30 years. But like they never give Ristar another shot. Like there's like 3 Knights games ever.
Mm-hmm.
We get like 5 million Sonic games that are almost universally terrible.
Yeah.
And like the ones that are like decent have like a million caveats of like why they're okay. I don't know. I would be cool with them cooling down on Sonic specifically and maybe trying to give some of their other franchises like Echo the Dolphin might be neat now. That's such a weird series to begin with, but like I don't know.
It's cool. I do like Echo.
I don't know how Echo works now.
I mean, I don't know how it works now either. But I'm just trying to think of like the Sega properties from that era. Like, because there was, there's only like 4 main Sonic games. I mean, from a certain perspective, 3, at least not counting Sonic CD. But like, like on Sega Saturn, to spoil a little bit, like didn't even get a Sonic game.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
What they get on Saturn, not counting a collection of games. They didn't get.
Didn't they get Sonic?
They got Sonic Jam. Which is
and like Sonic 3D Blast was like on
Sonic 3D Blast was on everything.
Yeah, I think they also got Sonic Fighters too.
Sonic Fighters and Sonic R.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But those aren't like Sonic 4, is my point.
I see.
No, fair.
You know what I mean?
There's no Sonic platformer.
There's no proper Sonic game. It's all spin-offs.
The 3D Blast, I guess, was the closest we got to Sonic 4.
And I'm not counting that A as a Saturn game specifically because it also came out on Genesis and Sega CD and 32X. I think it came out on all those things now that I think about it. Well, I don't know. I just think I think there's more stuff to be had. Like a modern Golden Axe game would be a lot of fun. It doesn't even have to be a beat 'em up. Like they can make that like like an action adventure game, like a Breath of the Wild kind of game. Maybe not that because I'd want more combat in it, but like I don't know. There's so many cool things that they just left like in the past, and like now that they just exclusively make software, like I think they should try to be more risk taking and like experimental, do more mid budget kind of fun games. Like
nobody's touched Shining Force in years.
Yeah, like Burning Rangers, or there's so much cool stuff.
Chacon the Forever Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe not everything's golden.
Wow.
But
hurtful.
But you know what I mean? Like I think some of this stuff could be due for a revival without just being yet another Sega Genesis port collection, which we get like one every 4 months on every platform. Which is nice that this stuff keeps being available, but like, I don't know. There's so much good stuff out there, like that they don't even have the rights to. That they there's like those games, those things, like for example, don't get like Gunstar Heroes because Sega didn't make them. You know, they also don't even get Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They almost never do because of like music issue because of Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like it's just something like you always kind of notice them. You always get Sonic 1 and 2.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
But like even Bonsai Brothers is fun. You know, I don't know. I would kind of like to see Sega revisit some stuff from this era. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, yeah, because if you make like smaller, like how Streets of Rage 4 is just, I think it's just download only. I don't think they ever released a physical edition. I'm sure Limited Run did one, and someone will post it in the comments and prove me wrong. But like, but you know what I mean? Like no big wide release physical edition. Like I think a lot of this stuff could be fun as like smaller downloadable games. And then see that there's market for them. Cause like, you know, when they did the Kickstarter for Shenmue 3, everyone like lost their mind. And then I heard that game wasn't even that good. But you know, I don't play those games, so Wes, you could probably speak to that one specifically better than me. But because I didn't have a Dreamcast or anything. This was the only Sega console I owned.
So it's your fault.
Yeah, I guess. As most things in life are.
I'd like to blame Scott.
I think it's time for a new Earthworm Jim. I'd be all about that.
That's coming.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for a while. We got a new Toe Jam and Earl not too long ago.
The new Earthworm Jim's absolutely coming. Announced it's a launch title for the Amico, I think it is.
Oh, I think I've never heard of.
Yeah, it's I think it's the Commodore Amico.
Commodore still in the game? Oh my god.
I forget. Hold on. Give me a sec.
But yeah, I don't know. It would be cool. I think there's more to be mined from this era. This was an interesting time for games in general.
The Intellivision Amico.
Okay.
It's what's his face? The guy who made Earthworm Jim's working with Intellivision. I forget his name. He was on Chris's podcast.
Ted Maple? That guy?
No, hold on.
Well, while we're all having this great audio of us searching for things on the internet.
There's one Dreamcast, or there's not Dreamcast, Genesis game I want to talk about.
All right, lay it on us.
Y'all ever played Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures?
Yeah, I've played that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I just thought it was going to be Pac-Man. I think that's why my mom bought it, because my mom loves Pac-Man. Did anyone have it when they were young?
No,
yes.
I knew about what it was when I went into it for the first time as an adult.
I wish
I
did.
Did you know what to do?
No, not at all.
You just shoot him with a slingshot.
That's all you did. You shot him until he got mad and then he fell over.
I put like some time into that game and got nowhere.
Because you have to sort of coerce him into doing things. But like there's no real you can't directly control Pac-Man. It's such a weird idea for a game.
Yeah,
like
it's
look at
so strange.
Like look at Pac-Man, the arcade game. Like, all right, I'm gonna make a sequel to that. And then it's just like Pac-Man walking around his like life. And you just annoy him into trying to do things.
And just like, oh no, there's ghosts in the trash can.
And maybe one thing was just called like Pac-Man: The New Adventures, but it's called Pac-Man 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think my mom was real bummed out. I was kind of too.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed out about it as well. We didn't get a real sequel to Pac-Man until Championship Edition on the Xbox 360.
I'd argue Miss Pac-Man is a sequel.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really iterate on like Pac-Man. It's just essentially more levels. I know Miss Pac-Man's more than that. I know it plays faster and all these other things. But Miss Pac-Man also wasn't developed by Namco. It was like it was essentially like a ROM hack some people made that Namco just bought and then put a bow on them.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they changed Clyde to Sue because women.
We touched on it earlier when we were talking about Sonic Spinball, but does everybody remember the pinball games that the Genesis had? You had Crew Ball, which was the Motley Crew. You had Devil's Crush.
And it's Dragon something, because Devil's Crush is there a Genesis Devil's Crush?
I don't know. I just know Crew Ball because it's fun. Isn't there a Kiss pinball on there too? I know there's one on PlayStation. That's probably what.
That's PlayStation.
Yeah,
that was PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah, Crew Ball's fun though. Yeah, I mean, I also like Motley Crew. So, speaking of, I think Genesis has the superior version of Rock and Roll Racing because it has an extra song on it because it has Radar Love, which is like one of the better driving songs. Super Nintendo doesn't have that, doing what Nintendo can't.
That's right. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah. And they're like weird to the next level marketing where it's all like one block of text spaced out like to the same dimensions. Which is
that was their
weird.
Sega CD logo, their Sega CD slogan.
Yeah.
Welcome to the next level.
So remember they kind of brought back some of the weird Sonic stuff when the Sonic Mania came out. Like the one where like you can use it as like different kinds of like household product. They remade that with Sonic Mania instead of Sonic 2, I think it was. Man, remember the hype for like Sonic 2 and 3? Remember because like Sonic Tuesday, I think that's why games start coming out on Tuesday here. I know it was like Sonic Tuesday.
Whoa.
I think that standardized like games coming out on Tuesday.
That's ridiculous.
Because before stuff just came out whenever it was released.
Whenever.
Thanks, Sonic.
Yeah.
I remember Sonic 3 playing it in Toys R Us when it first came out and like seeing Knuckles for the first time. It's like, oh shoot, I almost keep cursing. I'm sorry.
It's fine, but you haven't, so it's all good.
I just remember being like, whoa, who's this bad guy? Like a new bad guy? I thought it was...
Oh, I thought Knuckles was the coolest guy.
Yeah, I was just like, what is this? It was a lot of fun.
Knuckles made me go to an encyclopedia to look like what's an echidna. I never heard of that before him. I at least heard of hedgehogs.
Yeah, and I've heard of foxes with two tails. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, helicopters. You know, that was mom was a helicopter and his dad was a regular fox. I think the science checks out on that, right?
Yeah. You can go see those at the zoo.
Tangentially related. Did you guys watch the Sonic movie?
I have not.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't yet either.
I actually enjoyed it.
It's great.
It is actually pretty good.
I know Sonic farts in it, so I was like, oh, never mind.
I hate Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Kendall I know hates Jim Carrey.
So
yeah, and it's a Jim Carrey role. It is.
Yeah.
They let him go wild.
Yeah. Well, did you guys watch the Sonic OVA? Because Kendall and I have seen that.
I love that.
No, we only watched good Sonic things.
So you had that on VHS, right?
Yeah, heck yeah.
I remember you bringing it to my house in high school and we were watching it with Knuckles in his hat.
Knuckles had a hat. Sonic gave the finger.
Yeah.
That's my kind of Sonic.
They killed Metal.
Killed Metal?
Because he was trying to replace regular Sonic and then he tried to save him And he's like, no, there can only be one Sonic, and then he sacrifices himself. I remember being really confused. I was like, oh, that's weird. But it has the president and his daughter.
President and his daughter, who everyone's inappropriately
like hitting on
after.
Because she's like 7 and like Eggman's trying to marry her.
Yeah. That's my Sonic.
Yeah.
None of this werewolf stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about them using classic Sonic as like in like all of the modern Sonic games now?
Yeah, that's so weird. Just turn it back if that's what you want to do.
It was neat for Generations because that was more celebratory of the series as a whole.
Yeah, that made sense.
But then they kept bringing them back in like Forces and stuff. I'm like, why? Just make a good Sonic game if that's what you want. Like,
well, it's just so weird because I feel like that's them acknowledging that like everybody just wants a classic style Sonic game, but not letting go of this weird like on rails stuff that's been around since like
the boost
Sonic
formula
adventure.
Yeah, I don't know. What did you guys play Sonic 4 back when that was?
Yes,
I remember being so hyped for that because that was same time they like made the new Mega Man. Was it Mega Man 9 was the first one that they had made?
Yeah,
since forever. And then like I don't know, it just was bad. And like not good. And then like
did they just give up on it?
Yeah, they gave up on it because they were releasing it episodically and then they just stopped. And then they let some fans take the reins, and Sonic Mania is basically Sonic 4. And it's awesome. And I'm glad that it exists, and I kind of hope we get a Mania 2 or whatever they want to call it. Because I'd be totally down for more. I love that the expansion to it, they brought in Mighty and Ray. And I love that they have different gameplay styles from all the other playable characters. What's cool about that is when you play, with Sonic Mania Plus, instead of just getting extra lives, you unlock, like, you get like characters. So like as you die, like as Sonic, like you'll just roll into like Knuckles next and stuff like that. So you have to cycle through all of your like playable characters.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in that. There's so much references to all the other Sonic games. There's like Bark, the polar bear, Fang, the other guys from which one's the green duck?
Bean,
yeah. All those guys are in it. The Sonic popcorn machines in it. There's so much fun stuff in it. Like we mentioned, you play Mean Bean Machine in it. There's so much.
Are those characters in there as bosses, or
there's a boss that kind of like there's a boss that like summons them.
Interesting.
And like so you're not technically fighting them, but like they have their own moves and stuff.
Dang, what am I doing?
You should really play
just
it.
buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't picked it up yet. I know you were late to like getting like a Switch, but I think it was also on PlayStation 4, which I know you had.
I just didn't. I don't know. I just divorced Sonic.
Yeah, see, that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on for the second one is, you were like the big Sonic guy that I knew my whole life, and then Sonic got really irredeemably bad for so long that you just stopped.
Yeah. It was that Sonic 06 where it was like Final Fantasy cutscenes and he was in love with that human woman. I mean, love is love, but that's a little wild.
It'd be one thing if they were like cartoony. She was a cartoony girl.
She looked like Yuna from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, like they
was like trying to make out with Sonic.
Yeah, because like the animal characters still looked like their cartoony selves, but all the humans, including Robotnik, like look realistic, and like it doesn't gel right.
It's so weird and bad.
Yeah, I mean the game is bad. Like it'd be one thing if like the game was fun, but like it's like loading screen the game. Oh.
Yeah, and then it was just like, oh, Sonic is a knight in this one, and in this one he's a werewolf, and it's just like, what is this? Why?
Yeah, and then here's one that's just Mario Galaxy, but Sonic.
Yeah, I don't even know what one that is.
That's Sonic Lost Worlds because it has a Zelda like DLC level. Yeah, that's the only reason
Sega went off the rails.
The only reason I have that one because I'm a Zelda guy. But like,
Is Sega doing anything besides like Yakuza really right now?
Yeah, what are they up to?
I know they just came out with Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. But I don't really know anything besides Yakuza.
Yeah, is there a Sonic game on the horizon? I haven't heard of one
that I know of.
Yeah, I haven't heard.
I know the original creator formed his own company and is basically making a sequel to Knights, but it's just called something else. Like something Wonderland.
Did Knights start on CD? Sega CD? Or was that Dreamcast?
Saturn.
Saturn. Okay.
Saturn.
Some of that stuff starts blending together in my head a little bit because they have the same kind of boxes.
Oh, Sega's got what is it, the Endless stuff. There's Endless Dungeon coming out next.
Oh, I thought you meant like Sonic the Hedgehog.
No.
It's endless.
The Endless series. So there's the Endless Space, Dungeon of the Endless. The one that's hitting newest is Endless Dungeon. They've got a bunch of really weird stuff.
What is that series?
It's their space opera series universe. Sega made a space universe that they could make games in. That's the best way to put it. None of the games.
They should just make more Phantasy Star.
They're Phantasy Star 2 online.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a regular Phantasy Star separate from the online. Like I was real into Phantasy Star Online, but
oh, the Dawn of War stuff is them too. I'm just on Sega's page now.
All right, well they're still kicking around, but I don't know. I think they could be a fun addition to like bring some of that classic Sega attitude to like, whatever console. How mind-blowing was it that we finally get like Sonic and Mario in games together? Like I could not handle it when he was announced for Smash Brothers Brawl.
Oh yeah, that was insane.
And they're like, "Oh, we're making a Sonic and Mario game." Oh, it's the Olympics. Like, what?
Well,
I picked up the newest one actually because it's got like a classic. Because the Olympics, because it was in Tokyo. It's the Olympics that didn't happen because of 2020, but because it was in Tokyo like 50 years ago or something. So it's got one where like it takes place in the past. So it's like all 8-bit and retro looking. It's like, oh, this is kind of neat. When the Sonic movie came out, a lot of these games, like all of the Sonic catalog on the eShop was like half off. So I picked up a couple of them. It's like, you know what, for like $10 or whatever, I'll play this.
Was it fun?
It's okay. I think it's a thing you need to play with people because it's just mini games.
Something you can't do right now.
No.
Yeah. Unless everyone wants to get it. I don't know if it has online. I think it might. But I don't know. I think I would love to see a return to form for Sega as a company. I know Sega of America and Sega of Japan like were constantly butting heads, which is what led to a lot of the problems in the States, like of them like losing market share. Like we talked finally about the Sega CD and those things, but like for $300 you should just buy a new console.
Well, that's why we got the 32X.
Yeah, I think all these stopgaps I think really hurt them. I think just waiting and doing like a full brand new console. I get that they didn't want to lose their Genesis market share, but like they already had such a big install base. But some of that stuff's a tall order for some people. Like another $300 on top of this to get a thing that had a lot of ports, the games you already had, a lot of crappy FMV games. Like we mentioned some great stuff that's on it, but like at the time, like I didn't know about any of those.
Was it $300? Is that like the price it was?
That's what Wes said.
Oh, the Sega CD?
Yeah.
And that's $300 in 1990, whatever.
Yeah, 90s money. I don't even know how much the 32X
is. It was what, $200, I believe.
I know the Genesis, I think, started at like $200, like when it first came out, or maybe it was a little bit less, and maybe Super Nintendo was, because I know Genesis was a little bit cheaper when Super Nintendo came out because it had already been out for a year. And then once they could pack in Sonic the Hedgehog, it was selling like crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, like I said, like ultimately spend like $1,000 on like one console, whereas like I don't know. There's so many mistakes that could, they could have averted, and like they still went on for a while. Like they still made the Sega Saturn, they still made the Dreamcast. Like I know the Saturn had kind of a rocky launch and didn't last super long,
which was a shame because it was such a great system. But I think they were scared by Sony. I mean, I know we're not talking about the Saturn, but
well, we can talk a little bit about it. Because
it was
were you working at were you working at GameStop yet when that came out? Because I was one that had the Shadow drop, right? Where it's like,
yes.
oh, it's out now, yeah.
I was still living up north, and I was at the time I was working for Electronics Boutique, and my store manager was like, we talked about getting the Saturn whenever it came out. He goes at his convention, he calls the store and he says, hey. He's like, how serious were you about getting a Saturn? I was like, I definitely want it. He said, good, they'll be in stores tomorrow. I'm like, wait, what? But it was a total surprise. There was like no games. There was like 5 Sega games, and that was it.
There was no games because the developers thought it was coming out months later.
Exactly.
They were still working on their games.
And it was, they were scared by Sony because the PlayStation was looming. So initially the Saturn was supposed to be a strictly 2D side-scrolling monster, which would have been fine, but then they heard Sony is throwing 3D in their new system, and so Sega went back and started throwing all these put together 3D chips, and we got what we got. But it still had, as far as 2D, it still had some great games on it.
Yeah, I didn't know anyone with the Saturn growing up. I knew people with Dreamcast because I was friends with you, Kendall.
Love the Dreamcast.
We'll do a Dreamcast episode. Dreamcast will probably be the next Sega console like we spotlight on. We'll probably talk a little bit about Saturn in that one as well, since it preceded it.
The sad thing is, it was like Sega was huge in Japan, so the best games stayed overseas.
Of course, that's how it always works.
And I was just getting into importing then, because there was a game store that specialized in Japanese games and import games and modding your system to play all these imports, and so I do own a lot of them, and there was so many good games that America never got to see, which is a shame, because I think if Sega would have released a lot of those, the system would have did a lot better.
Okay.
But we sure got Clockwork Knight.
We got Clockwork and Bug.
Oh yeah.
But we did get Panzer Dragoon.
Mm-hmm.
All games I've never played. Like I said, I didn't have a Saturn. I actually own a Dreamcast now, but I only own 2 games for it. I own Power Stone 1 and Skies of Arcadia, which I should really play Skies of Arcadia. I played it for like 10 minutes and stopped. Not because it was bad, because I had something else to do. And then just because it's an RPG, I forgot what I was doing. And
that's what happens.
Well, now you have nothing to do. You can't go anywhere.
Oh, I've got 4 games. I'm playing Spider-Man for PlayStation 4. This is what I'm playing now, the podcast. I've got Spider-Man I'm playing right now. I'm just about to start Big Hero 6 and Kingdom Hearts 3. I just finished the story in Age of Calamity, and I'm finishing a second playthrough of Breath of the Wild right now. I was playing Breath of the Wild. I unexpectedly got a PlayStation 4 from a friend. So I picked up Spider-Man, and when I was picking that up, Kingdom Hearts 3 was on sale, so I picked that up.
Good, I can loan you Yakuza.
And then I got Age of Calamity for Christmas, so I've been playing all of that.
When you're done playing mediocre games, let me know, and you can borrow Yakuza.
I know you like Spider-Man, so
Spider-Man was really good.
Play it. Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely the worst one of the bunch. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's anime trash, and like that gets. It's so frustrating to, like, I'm playing it by myself, and like this cutscenes are happening. I'm like, I feel embarrassed watching this. Like I feel more embarrassed about that versus like teaming up with like Rapunzel from Tangled and like these little children's movie things. And I'm like, oh man, these anime guys come on and just talk about absolute nonsense for like 20 minutes. And
well,
I'm
then
like,
you'll love Yakuza.
And then I'm like, all right, so what's Woody and Buzz doing right now? Like,
what are Woody and Buzz doing?
Yeah, they're talking about being friends.
But even that is like insane anime nonsense.
I know. I was texting Kendall about it because we text each other when we play Kingdom Hearts games, it turns out. And I'm like, I love that Wallace Shawn has to say all of this stupid anime stuff. Has to talk about this fake Square Enix game. Like, I don't know. Anyway, Sega Genesis. I think that'll wrap us up a little bit. Unless you guys got any closing statements to say.
Nah, well, I'm good. I miss a lot of the Sega properties, and like you said before, Sega's sitting on so many unused properties. They really need to bring them back.
Or if not, make them in-house, like license them to someone else, like a Way Forward or something, you know?
Yeah. It honestly is like no surprise that they went under. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, no, they make a lot of baffling decisions.
It's modern Sega and classic Sega are two very different companies. Modern Sega is making a ton of really cool and interesting stuff, but for whatever reason just refuses to capitalize on the large backlog of stuff that they could easily just pull out. I can't imagine there's nobody at Sega who wants to work on these things, but maybe it's just resources and time, because I mean, you figure they're working on a bunch of big name titles that have done fairly well recently. So I mean, I can see why you wouldn't go back to the well.
This is gonna sound weird because like their name's Sonic Team, but like I'd like to see Sonic Team do non-Sonic games again. They don't always make Sonic games. They made Knights, they made Billy Hatchet and the Giant Egg. Like
Choo Choo Rocket.
Yeah, I'm sure they have other ideas besides Blue Hedgehog Goes Fast and it's bad. Because like, yeah, how many times can you just like the boost formula is so boring? Like you just run in a straight line and move to the side. Like,
well, they're the ones who are doing all the Puyo Puyo games, so
yeah, like
cool.
Oh yeah, and those games have a lot of personality. So like, all right, good.
Yeah.
Let them do something creative.
I'm loving those Puyo Puyo games. I got a beat Mean Bean Machine.
How far can you get in it? I know it gets really hard.
I used to not be able to beat the like first guy, but now I think I could crush him.
See, the trouble with those games is like I didn't wrap my head around as a kid. Is like you got to be able to set up combos.
Yeah, that's what messed me up.
Yeah, because that's how you get to drop the garbage on the other side, and that's what makes it hard. I was just like, oh, yellow goes with yellow. I was thinking too Dr. Mario, you know? But yeah, so, you know, like I said, let's wrap that up. We'll wrap this episode up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Always fun hanging out with y'all. I know this was one of the requested consoles to do. I've been doing a lot of Nintendo ones. And there's more to that than just, you know, more to video game than just, you know, retro gaming is just Nintendo. But since I schedule it, I'm like, these are what I want to talk about. So we'll definitely do some other things, including, like I said, I kind of want to do a Dreamcast one, even though I have like very, very limited experience with it. But the people I know that love Dreamcast love Dreamcast.
The best system ever.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, it's fine.
What did you say you have? Skies of Arcadia and what?
And Power Stone 1.
All right.
It's not like
my goal is to make you love Dreamcast before.
Yeah. Yes, Scott.
All right, we'll do it then. I kind of wish Dreamcast games were more available. Like they make Genesis games available on everything.
Yeah, I would spend like $30 on a Jet Grind Radio re-release.
And to be fair, like I've played the Sonic Adventure games to death on GameCube. Like I've also played those. Which, spoiler, I liked as a kid. As an adult, I'm like, oh, no thanks.
I loved them as a kid, and now it's just.
Oh yeah, I played Sonic Adventure 2 Battles so much. We talked a little bit about it when we were talking about GameCube, I think. Which if you haven't watched that episode, go watch that one now, or listen to it, or whatever format you're experiencing this podcast in. But yeah, thank you again for joining me, guys. I'll have reason to have you on again soon, I'm sure. Kendall, you're probably on the most of anyone else I've done so far. I think it's
because you keep me in a basement and you don't let me leave. You don't feed me unless I do a podcast.
Yeah.
Please send out.
That's how you get your pizza. But yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. Subscribe and whatever. So until next time, be safe.